Alright. Gotta try this again, apparently. Oh, I gotta do the whole thing over again. Damn.
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner. I woke up and I was starving, so I looked around for something to eat.
About what's gonna happen, she said. That's interesting. Okay, I'll just...
I ate a lot of things that night.
Okay. Speed this along. So she's clearly hallucinating because she ate terrible stuff.
I thought about eating Christopher, but I held back. Mom, can I come out now?
Sweetheart.
The gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it.
I guess I should go eat the toothpaste.
I kept eating and eating.
It's interesting that the dialogue works pretty well
Then I
both
heard chirping outside my window.
in and out of context.
It was a barn swallow
Of the
going
other
back to her
dialogue.
nest. I reached out for her. And suddenly,
What? You know, locking
I
the
was
kid
a cat.
into the bedroom's fine. I mean, look, the door is the window is locked. It's fine. Don't
I
worry
tried
about
to
it.
be quiet, but the bird was
What
really
could she
scared.
do? I mean, she's got her personal bathroom. Like, she'd probably be fine, right?
Mom and Dad didn't even look at me.
They didn't even look at her though. Some irresponsible parenting. If your kid's a cat, look at him.
I jumped and I almost got her. I could tell she was getting really tired. Now I was up in the big tree. I promised Dad I wouldn't climb it anymore. All I cared about was eating that mama bird. I gobbled her up. And suddenly, I was an owl. First, all I heard was the wind. Then I heard little teeth nibbling in the grass.
Where's that baby bunny?
Rabbits. I imagined his face looking up and seeing mine through my talons. I swallowed him up, and I didn't chew one bit. Then I flew off to find something bigger. A mama rabbit.
Mister flew over. Ah, there you are. Swoop around here. Where's that mom? There she is.
She was almost too big to carry. I started choking, but I couldn't stop eating. And suddenly, I was a shark.
Alright. with that tree brush. Much better this time.
I rolled off a cliff and into the ocean. Now, I was hungrier than ever.
The trick with the seal is you want to get
I wanted
underneath it.
fat, juicy seals. I tore off her flipper, and it tasted really good.
There you are.
I grabbed on tight. But I was so hungry, I jumped out of the water.
Alright, we are the
When I
monster
opened
again.
my eyes,
Here we are.
everything had changed. Now I was a monster, and I smelled people everywhere.
I really do like how the tentacle and the monster moves. It's creepy. It's good.
I was big, but I moved real quiet.
Alright. Let's go get our drunken sailor.
I wanted to stop, but also I didn't. I was still hungry. And across the water, I smelled something new. Something I had to have, so I swam towards it. I slithered onto the sand, and the
I'm gonna
good smell
clear
went
this
into
grate.
an old pipe.
Okay. Oh, I'm never sitting on a toilet again.
I got closer and closer.
Back to her room. Can we get out the door this time? Get the bed maybe?
All of my stomach started growling. And suddenly, I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep. But it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to be, and we both know I will be delicious.
Oh, little Mary Shelley here.
I'm not sure if I believed all of that, but I'm sure Edie would have.
Okay, so Milton was the oldest one. He's the one that disappeared.
I got the sense Edie had spent a lot of time here before my mom sealed the doors.
She only lived to be 10 years old. Wow.
I can't describe it, but I felt like some part of Molly was still here. I grew up looking at Molly's room.
Molly's gerbil had a tiny bedroom with its
yeah.
own even tinier gerbil cage.
I want to hear you grew up what now?
Being inside for the first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting.
It's the cat.
This will be obvious later, but my mom never told me any of these stories.
Edie would have, but Mom didn't like bringing up the past. Though, when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly.
I spent a lot of time in Great-Grandma Edie's room.
Her room was like a museum. For 500 years, the Finches have been famous throughout Norway for their fortune and misfortune. Odin Finch buries the latest victims of the family curse, his wife Ingeborg and their newborn son, Johan. On January 7th, 1937, he set sail with his family and his house, hoping to leave the curse behind. But 40-foot waves off the coast of Washington send the house and Odin to the bottom of the sea.
Damn.
Odin's daughter Edie, with husband Sven and baby Molly, step ashore on their new home, Orcas Island. Odin Finch is the first to be buried in the new family cemetery. His daughter Edie is already dreaming of a new Finch house. Whatever's wrong with this family, it goes back a long ways. When Edie told people Sven was killed by a dragon, she could also have said he was building a dragon-shaped slide that collapsed. She could have, but she didn't.
Even in her 90s, sometimes Edie seemed a lot younger than my mother.
Is this carpet or is it just... No, it's carpet. God, that's disgusting.
The only trace Grandpa Sam's first wife, Kay, left on the house was the pink bathroom.
It was a pretty big trace.
Sealed shut. Huh.
One summer, they evacuated the island, but Edie refused to go. For a few weeks, she was a celebrity.
Edie sounds like a badass.
I hadn't thought of myself as Edith Jr. for a long, long time. Edie gave a big interview about a mole man living under the Finch house. My mom was furious.
Louis died a week before we left, but Edie had already started to memorialize him.
Edie knit me a new pair of gloves every year, just in time to replace the old ones.
Nothing about the birds, huh?
There's a secret in this bathroom. It's in the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard. It's hidden in this book.
Cute.
Sven gave Sam an old camera he'd refurbished. He never put it down. I knew Grandpa Sam had a twin. And that he never talked about him. I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it. My brother said he'd die before he ate another mushroom, and he did. At Barbara's funeral, we swore we'd never be afraid again, and he wasn't. I think Calvin always wanted to fly.
What a terrible place for a swing.
Sam! Calvin! Dinner's ready! Coming!
But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it. I told him going around was impossible. Maybe if I hadn't said that.
Calvin! I'm not gonna tell you again!
Maybe if the wind hadn't picked up. Then maybe he'd still be here. But I doubt it. I think he'd already made up his mind. That's what I want to remember about my brother. The day he made up his mind to fly. And he did.
Damn.
Calvin's story felt strangely familiar. When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same thing.
They didn't move the swing.
After the funeral, Edie roped off Calvin's half of the room.
Mom said Grandpa Sam enlisted at 18 and never set foot in the room again.
Mom was really good with puzzles.
The passages were a pretty tight fit. They'd obviously been built for smaller hands and bellies.
I'll back it up. I'll back it up.
Whenever people ask me about my family, the first thing they always want to know about is Barbara.
Mom must have locked the third floor stairs on the night we left. The last time I was in Edith Sr.'s room, I was 10 and she was painting my portrait.
As a kid, I just assumed every house had peepholes and sealed rooms you weren't allowed inside of.
Molly always seemed like a girl I could imagine being friends with, if she hadn't died in 1947. Barbara was a child star for 2 years, until America grew out of it.
Edie's father, Odin, built the original house.
Yeah, these are things that I've kind of come to understand already. I think I was supposed to look at those little intros before, but that's alright.
Growing up, I always thought of Barbara as a child star. I never thought about how hard it must have been for her afterwards. Of all the stories people wrote about Barbara's death, I'm surprised Edie saved this one.
Oh, Jack here with another ghastly tale inspired by America's most unfortunate family. I'm calling it The Surprise Ending of Barbara Finch. As a child star, Barbara was famous for her scream. Now at 16, she was all washed up. A has-been. But in a lucky break, she'd been asked to perform her signature scream at a local convention for monster movie fans. It was just the boost her career needed. Unfortunately, her scream hadn't aged well.
Getting better. I think you just need the right motivation.
Her biggest fan and current boyfriend, Rick, was about to demonstrate when...
Now that was a great scream.
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had to be rushed to the emergency room. So Barbara got stuck babysitting her youngest brother, Walter. Her convention comeback was cancelled.
Okay, I'm hearing frustration, but I'm not hearing terror. What if I tried...
A gang of hoodlums in Halloween masks have been terrorizing Orcas Island tonight. Police are urging residents to...
That came from the basement.
You're right! Also, I loved your delivery on that. Why is your basement door locked?
because my dad likes making puzzles and secret passages. There's a key hidden in the music box. The secret is to keep winding and winding until finally the key pops out.
Thanks, babe. I'll be back in a sec.
20 minutes later, Rick hadn't returned. So Barbara went to look for him, right on cue. She reached for the music box. And as she wound the key, she listened for Rick, but the house was silent. She found Rick's crutch and imagined the worst.
The gang's leader is the infamous Hookman killer, Dr. Carl Hamill, who impaled and then ate his family 10 years ago tonight.
Nice.
The old fridge rattled and grew still.
Oh, boyfriend's a dick.
Oh!
Rick?
Barb,
I meant
relax. I was just trying to scare you to help you find your scream.
Well, I'm not scared, Rick. I'm furious.
Then act furious. All I'm getting from you now is that you're hurt and confused and you're...
She threw him out, but she kept a little something to remember him by.
Barb, have you seen my other crutch?
And she was still holding it when she fell asleep watching the late picture show. Hours later...
Barbara! Walter, what's going on up there? Ah! Okay, I'm coming up, but if this is a trick, you're dead, Walter.
Walter vanished, but his bedside radio was still on.
Orcas Island police describe the man as 6 feet tall, with a steel hook for a hand. Residents are urged to lock all doors and windows and notify the police of any suspicious activity.
Barbara turned, saw the hook man, and was speechless. He was quite smashing. And funny he was. He couldn't get enough of Barbara.
Okay, Barbara, there's gotta be another way out of here.
That night, she played her part beautifully. She thought about abandoning Walter, but just couldn't do it.
I guess we're going this way.
Molly's door hadn't been opened in years. The hinges grow. He wasn't moving, but she sensed the story might not be over yet.
gone.
The hookman had vanished. She listened for his breathing, but all she heard was... At the door, she heard whispering. It was coming from inside the house.
Oh dear.
The monsters had come to surprise her. For Barbara, it was a dream come true. Then she saw what kind of monsters they were, and she realized what was about to happen. She was going to be famous. And with her final breath, Barbara Finch gave the performance of her life. I wasn't there myself, but I hear Barbara was magnificent. Poor girl. She had a taste for stardom. But unfortunately, so did her fans. Of course, the police blamed it all on poor Rick, who disappeared the same night.
I blame Rick, too.
And little Walter? Hiding under his bed the whole time. He took it all pretty hard, but that's another story. As for Barbara, tucked inside the music box is all they ever found of her. Her ear.
Jesus.
Now that's what I call a real eerie tale.
Edie told me all Barbara wanted was to be remembered, as absurd as that comic was. Maybe what Edie saw was a happy ending.
Well, I think we are going to be finishing with Barbara for this evening. Thank you so much for watching the stream. I will be back next Friday to probably finish up this game. I won't be playing it until then.